welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. As always, I have Adi with me. Adi, how are you?
Good, good. Enjoying the weather.
Yeah, it's good weather outside. Actually, no. Actually, I'm not enjoying it. It's been terrible, terrible. Uh, hay fever's been a menace. Let's just say. Um, yeah, it's been horrendous. I haven't enjoyed it at all. Oh.
Uh, have
You know,
some honey in the future
some people are lucky.
before the summer comes and try and avoid the grass.
It's hard to avoid the grass when you got a big lawn in your garden and you have to cut the grass every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh man. But let's get going, Adu. Let's start with Man City, the treble winners. I mean, fantastic achievement for them, winning the treble, matching up to their very close neighbours, Manchester United. What did you make of it?
Yeah, they deserved it really, and they've been the standout team since probably November. They've been just on a roll, and they've definitely been the best team since the World Cup.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, the final, even though the result was predictable, the performance they suffered a bit. They struggled. Inter Milan was slightly, probably the better chances,
yeah.
and yeah, so that was surprising, and that was good to see in a sense. But yeah, I mean, hands down, they are a step above everyone at the moment, and while every other club is kind of going through a
Transition.
transition. Yeah, they're the one team that seem to be doing it seamlessly in the way they operate. But Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern is more down to their leadership structure. The people running the club don't have the right vision, but they should. There's no reason why they should have competed more better this year because they have got the squad, the players, they've actually done the investment,
And
they
the
had
depth.
a manager, they had a lot of things going for them, and they just knocked out PSG and then they pressed the self-destruct button.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you'll see the rewards of the decisions they made this year next season with Tuchel, but he hasn't exactly hit the ground running. So, very fortunate to even win the league. Again, Dortmund choking on the
Thanks to
last.
Dortmund.
Yep. So yeah, I think hands down, it's the one team you could say that has managed their transition better than everyone else, and is just on the upwards curve. And they are, I can't really think of any team that is on the same level as them. I mean,
Mm.
Liverpool hanged on their coattails for a good 3 seasons, but came out worse most of the time anyway in those 3 seasons. So, you know, credit there. I mean, hopefully, um, if Liverpool invests, they're probably the only team you could say who could really give this Man City a run for their money because their legacy looks set to continue.
But do you know what the thing is? Is you're mentioning about the transition. They're very good in the way they drive the club and move them on in terms of players that are aging. They're replacing with the younger profile, and they're getting in the right players that they need, and always just replenishing that squad. Every year they're signing in one or two players that are gonna help them in the future. Like if you see the example of even Alvarez, they signed him in January the previous year but they got him in for the summer, and that's a new addition to the club. Same with Haaland. This year they're doing it with. I mean, we'll get into the transfer now. In terms of Kovacic is another person they're getting in. They know Gundogan pretty much going out, so they're getting Kovacic in, who was again a good profile, played for Real Madrid, played for Chelsea, won Champions League, and it fits the profile of player that he wants.
Yeah, and the thing is, they some of those players have been together 5 years plus, 6 years plus, 7 years together. So um,
Well,
it's the right time to
Gundo was his first signing. Gundogan was his first signing.
so, yeah, but obviously some of them that were there the seasons before well, like Carl Walker, and then maybe I don't know if they came with Pep. I think they did, but yeah, this is the first time where it seems like he's moving on players. Not the first time, but they're moving on players that were definitely at the start of his journey, and he's replacing them. They're replacing them with good players, with good young players, and they're adding the right experienced player when they need it, especially in the middle of the park.
Mm.
So I can't remember the name of the player. They had another Argentinian youngster they brought recently in January.
I
And,
forgot his name. Yeah, yeah. His name is I know who you're talking about.
and he was
Vitone or something like that.
he was on the bench
Last game.
in the FA
It's
Cup final.
something Maximin, something like that.
Yeah, and I was thinking, he's a really good youngster as well. So they got a lot of good signings, good players coming through, and it looks like it. This last year it was, Torres and Sterling and Zinchenko and Jesus, and this year it looks like it's going to be Silva, Gundogan,
Kai
and
Walker, it seems like,
yeah,
because the Bayern are
Walker.
interested in him
And it makes sense because they already have Rico uh,
already.
ready to take his spot. So
Also, I don't know if you know, they're also interested in Josko Gavido, the Croatian international playing for Leipzig. So,
yeah, I mean, the lot of teams have been interested in him because of he can play centre back and left back
and
just
left
as
back.
good.
Yeah.
And obviously we've seen with this season Pep's um, slight tactical changes is that he plays three at the back, but the two on the outside do sometimes end up going right into left back spot or right back spot. So um, yeah, that's something
Fits the
that would
profile.
just puts a bit more flexibility into that squad, a bit more because that's the other impressive thing is he's won the treble, having to use a lot of players out of position this year and having to train a lot of players out of position by and they've all done well and just shows how they are. A lot of those players are good, complete footballers that they can
Mm.
play in different positions and actually do a good job, stand out. So
Yeah, I would even say good job. I thought they were standout players. I.e., like if you look at what's his name, John Stones. I mean, he thrived in that new role that he was given.
yeah, even Ake at the start of the season, even Akanji, those players out of position played really well. So I think, the only experiment he did that didn't really work out was when he tried putting Bernardo Silva
Bernardo
as a left
Silva, yeah,
winger,
yeah,
yeah, a wing back. That was the only tactic that probably didn't work out that he tried. But he didn't change the tactic, he just changed the personnel.
yeah. I think it was a more personal issue than anything
Yeah.
else.
So yeah, they just look really good, and they've got money. They're gonna spend big on quality players.
Yeah, and because of winning the Champions League, I think they can. It was said. I think they can spend like 250 million plus, and nothing would happen to them because of
Yeah,
the win of Champions League, etc. So, I mean, they're gonna spend anyways, but helps them, isn't it, when you have 115 breaches, etc. So,
yeah. I mean, the only thing is the impending case they have with the Premier League. That's the only negative. But yeah, they look formidable, and they look like they've got another 2 3 years. I think everyone's waiting for the 2 years of Pep to end contract to end.
yeah, because he said, isn't it? I think he might go at the end of his 2 years.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, there's a lot can change in that time,
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
especially if the club keeps backing him with the players he wants and the signings he wants. Then there's no reason to leave or to prove yourself anywhere else when you got a club supporting you the way they
but so
fancy.
you think this is? I mean, this is just the beginning of a continuity of them winning titles and league, Champions Leagues, etc. And do they become a bigger force in the Champions League, say for say? Because obviously that was the one ground where you could say pretty much they were stumbling on. But now having done it, does that make them more lethal in the Champions League now?
I think they will continue to, I think they will continue to challenge for everything. And they're not dropping off, put it that way. They're not
Yeah,
going to drop
100%.
off. But, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, those are special players. They're players that have stood out in key moments, key games. They are special players. So no team will easily replace them. You got to remember Sterling, Jesus, Zinchenko, Oliver, and Torres. I mean, keep saying Oliver Torres. They were all, squad rotation players. They weren't the key players. This is the first time where he's potentially losing, not just players with winning intent, but actually leaders in his squad.
Mm.
He's, everyone knows Bernardo Silva is like an animal. We've seen him live. I mean, some of the challenges he goes into, the intensity, the way he flies into his tackles is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
You think he's gonna snap in
Listen,
two.
listen. I hated watching him. You know that. If he's playing for your team, you love him. But if he's playing against your team, you hate him because he's
No, but I haven't seen a player go into tackles as hard as he does, as wild as he does, as with as much speed into tackle. Like he's reckless. He dives in. He's crazy,
yeah.
and
But it's funny how he gets away with it every single time.
that's clever though, isn't it? But he's good at it. So, and then you go. Obviously, everyone knows the brains that Gundogan has. Even Walker is a character in the dressing room.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, and the other thing is, De Bruyne looks like, he's struggling with injuries. He seems like a guy whose body's starting to, you know,
Give up
break
on him.
down.
Yeah,
So, um, it's not going to be as easy, but they would still be there or thereabouts because they're creating a new wave of players. You got the Diaz's and Rodri now leading that team and running that team. Um, so it'd be interesting to see who else can bring that,
or
especially in the
who
mid.
steps into those big characters' shoes now? That's. I think Rodri's already there as a big character and
Yeah,
leader within that.
Rodri. I think Rodri and Diaz have already taken over
Yeah,
as part of those leadership team groups. So it'd be interesting to see. But again, I just think every time he put on the youngsters, City actually looked better with Alvarez, Foden, Rico, all these youngsters on. Every time they came in, they actually looked a better team.
yeah.
Uh, Off the ball work, the winning the ball back was a lot better. So I just think, yeah, he's built a good backups that are ready to take the mantle on and do a good job. Certainly
Mm.
in terms of performance, it's whether mentality wise they can come up big in the big moments.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Let's obviously move on to someone. I mean, a team that were challenging them, Arsenal. They're interested in Rice. Obviously, I think they had their first bid rejected, and they're planning to put their second bid in. What do you make of that? I mean, does that strengthen Arsenal? And if so, what does it do for the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rice is one of those players. The two players that are going to some of that will strengthen still any of those teams, which is Rice and Kane. Every single one of the top four, top six will benefit from having them too.
Mm.
So, yeah, I think it's an excellent signing. It seems like they're ahead of everyone in terms of they've got Rice convinced and tapped up, and
Yeah,
that's the club Rice wants to go to. It was always felt before because of his relationship and friendship with
Mount. Yeah,
that it was always Chelsea would, but Chelsea have just bought too many players now, and it looks like Enzo is gonna, take up the space that Rice would have taken. So it looks like it's a clear path for Arsenal. It works out for Rice. He still lives in London, stays in London.
mm.
Not too much of a change in that sense, and it's a club on the up. And yeah, I do feel it's an area that and this the hardest thing is Arsenal had a fantastic season, But there was a lot of things you still felt, the players could have done better. Areas of the pitch where you felt like they're not as strong as you'd expect a team that's flying away with the league at the time. You
Mm.
still felt like Thomas Partey was good, but never scintillating. There's games Rodri has just completely busted. Partey has had loads of good games, but it just doesn't take it that next stage. And you just think someone like Rice will do that. Someone like Rice will grab the game by the scruff of the
He's
neck.
got that character, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he'll go that extra mile when the team needs it. And yeah, so I think it's going to be good for England, good for him. He's going to develop his game. He's going to certainly play, hopefully, less square and more forward, which will make watching England for all of us a lot better. So yeah, I think that looks promising for Arsenal. And
But
we
personally, I think he's a
Arsenal got
good
money. It's
character
not like
to have
Arsenal
as
don't
well.
have money.
Sorry.
It's not like Arsenal don't have money. I think Arsenal do have money. They're not they're clever in the way they give the image that they don't, and then they end up picking up players for slightly cheaper. They did that last summer. Tactic didn't work in January because there's less time to make that work.
Yeah.
And obviously Chelsea came and blew them out with all their plans, just copied every signing they were going for. So I think I think Kroenke and all of they're onto something. They know what they're doing. They just won the NBA
I mean, they've
championship.
yeah they've won it with all the all
And
the all the other clubs or all the other franchises they've
all
won.
this
So
franchise. So
only
I
one
do
left is
think
Arsenal.
I do think you know they know how to build a team and maybe not spend as much as everyone else, but still compete and win titles.
Mm.
And we saw the start of that last season, and yeah, I think they're going. Who else going for Havertz?
They're going
I
for
think
Havertz.
defense.
I know they're linked with Caicedo, but I think that's more strongly linked to Chelsea. Now we'll get to obviously Caicedo.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think
let's mention
Caicedo one
Havertz.
is more.
Sorry.
I think the Caicedo one is more to just to make sure that Chelsea don't poke their nose into the rice one and start ruining that. So they're making life difficult for Caicedo one so that Chelsea don't make it. I think that's a bit of gamesmanship going on in that one.
Not sure, but I think we dropped our interest on Caicedo now. And Chelsea and pole position for it. But what do you make of the new one that came earlier this week of Havertz being linked to Arsenal? And reports saying today I read that personal terms is not a problem. It's just about agreeing a fee now.
Yeah, I think they've been they got this fixation with left-footed tens, and they brought Vieira in. He hasn't really shown anything
No.
that he can really become a regular or challenge Odegaard enough. Not saying he's a bad signing, but just doesn't have the presence that you need for a Premier League player. So clearly getting Havertz in will put pressure on Odegaard. Even though I don't
No,
know,
but do you reckon he's bringing him in to be an eight, or is he being bringing him in to be a challenger to Jesus?
I think he's bringing him in as a 8 or 10, whichever one you want to call it, 8.5, whatever
As
position.
in playing the half space, right?
Yeah, Odegaard plays. So I think
On
he's
the left
getting
hand side, maybe for Xhaka replacement
that
because
is,
he's got to Leverkusen.
but nah. I just think he's playing. He's flexible, so he can play him anyway, really. And that's the good thing about getting Havertz is he can play a few different roles and do a good job. So I think that's the thinking behind it is strengthen the squad, keep pressure on some of those players to keep performing, and yeah, just adds a bit more flexibility to the squad. Because at the end of the day, they're gonna need that squad. They're gonna need Champions League football. Does take a lot. You got to remember all these seasons when they've been in Europe, they've been playing a complete B team.
Mm.
So those first team players are actually used to the rigors of playing 2 to 3 times a week, every week, which always affects players, always affects them. You have to get used to playing with aches and pains, and that's just something that mentally is a lot to get used to. So, yeah, I think it's a good signing because it's a player who can play multiple positions. You can see him play on the right and give Saka a rest,
Back at rest, yeah.
playing up top in the first nine, which is what Jesus is doing. You can see him play and give Odegaard a rest. So it's a good signing. He's a good player. I don't think Chelsea actually suits him.
No, no.
The way they play and the style, it just doesn't suit someone like
Havertz.
Havertz.
Mm,
So yeah, it'd be
definitely.
good. And yeah, maybe going to a club that can rotate him is better because he hasn't got 2 3 games a week in him. He
He
can't
hasn't got
maintain.
that, yeah, that physical. I don't know. Because when you look at his structure and the way he's built, you think, you know what, he's gonna be an engine there. But I don't know that German, maybe like Goretzka and stuff. It's not there. That physical machine is
But
not. It's
he
not
does
there.
go in for tackles and that, so it's
I,
not
I I'm I mean more of an,
physicality,
as
but
in terms of the
stamina, yeah.
endurance. The
Yeah,
endurance.
endurance and stamina you can definitely question. He can't he hasn't got 2 good games in a week in him.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever being played once a week, yeah, he performs.
I mean, that might suit Arsenal because obviously they need to rotate with Champions League coming for them. So yeah, it'd be.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact they're kind of going for players with Premier League experience. They know what they're gonna get. There's less acclimatization. A lot of those players they brought Vieira's and Marquinhos and you can tell they're buying them more for the squad as a backup if Saka got injured and if that other player going. And there's players they really got get injured, so they were lucky and they were
Mm,
all right. But you can't get away with that in the Champions League because you have to still play a first team.
yeah,
I think the thinking they're doing is right. They know they have to get players who can play in the first 11 straight away, and that's what they're doing. So I think this, again, impressive recruitment, strategy wise. Let's see if they manage to pull it off.
yeah. I want to see how much they end up spending this year because there's just too many names at the moment. But yeah, with Caicedo to Chelsea, obviously, what do you reckon? Is that more due to the fact that obviously now Kante's gone to Saudi? You know that Saudi Arabian wave is going on at the moment, and I think Neves has agreed to go to Saudi as well. Is that maybe to replace Kante now that he's gone?
Yeah, 100%. You know, in terms of a player with the energy,
The
biting the
tackling
tackle,
ability, yeah.
you couldn't think of a better replacement, really. So Caicedo, I think, is a great signing for Chelsea. Let's see. I mean, again, he is a Pochettino type of player. Pochettino likes defensive midfielders in his midfield. He likes engines. He likes tacklers. So, yeah, I think it's positive. Good signing for them.
Mm, no, definitely. And also, I think they're trying to activate the release clause for Nicholas Jackson. What do you make of him? Haven't seen much of him to be honest. But I saw his goal record. He seems quite good.
Yeah, I mean, unquestionably, they are going for you know, the best youngsters going. And I still think the is it Colombian or Ecuadorian youngster, the book Paez Kendry
Players, yeah, yeah.
is gonna be a superstar by the
Well,
sounds
even
of.
if you look at the other signing, the Santos and Casady, they all ripped it up in the under 20 competitions or under 21 competitions.
Yeah, so they're really buying some good talented youngsters. I just don't understand how they're gonna break them into the team right now, especially with the pressure, um, you know, next season will bring. Because at the end of the day, they're finishing the bottom half of the table.
Yeah.
Other clubs are showing ambition. it's not easy just to build that culture and that mentality, the club up from where they're at the moment, especially when they look like they're getting rid of a lot of their senior players, the
Mm.
people that are going to manage the dressing room. I think it's hard to expect young players to manage a dressing room like Chelsea's is, you need those senior players to manage that. And I think if you're relying on Sterling and James to be the leader, forget it. That club ain't gonna go
Well, I mean,
nowhere.
Koulibaly is also linked with the move away as well. That's what I'm
Yeah, I
gonna say.
mean, everyone knows there's no secret. They need to sell players. They've got
Yeah.
too many good players, especially youngsters. So it looks like the main motivation for a lot of the sales is the age of the player. Koulibaly, Kante, Kovacic, they're all wrong side of 30. So, um,
Kovac is I think 28, hitting 29.
yeah, so, I just think, yeah, they're moving all them on because they're hitting 30 and they've got the youngsters already in place. They've got really good players. So it makes sense. Havertz, they're only selling because you can tell he's not a Pochettino player.
Mm.
So he doesn't
But but
tie in with.
then brings me into question. One of the homegrown talent, Mount, obviously linked with the United, who bidded 40 million. I think they're going in for a second bid for Mount. Him leaving as well.
Yeah, but that's because I think he wants to leave and not necessarily Pochettino wants to lose him. It's just he's got 1 year left. So that's time to contract and probably the players fed up with the direction the club is going. And also Mount is smart. He realizes the amount of players they've signed that even if he signs a new contract, it might be just for the quota because where
Yeah.
does he fit in? The amount of players they've signed, where does he fit in?
Mm.
He's asking that question. He can see they got Chukwuemeka, they've Santos, like you said, they've got so many players we haven't even seen hardly
Yeah.
to come in. Plus they're buying Caicedo, they're still buying. So yeah, I think that's a smart move from Mount. Chelsea isn't the club to stay at if you're not getting a look in right now. They still got Conor Gallagher.
Well, I think Conor Gallagher they're trying to move on as well. So yeah. But I mean, that brings the question, Adu, and I think you slightly brought it up. Would that cause a leadership problem within Chelsea because you're pretty much losing a spine?
I think they've lost the leadership from the top of the club anyway. I mean,
Mm.
it was crazy to get rid of Marina and Czech at the same time. Straight away with so many things up in the air, and then replace them with guys who, they get the job done. I think slightly unfairly get criticized in the sense that you cannot knock the players they've signed. You can't knock them. They've brought the best youngsters available, and they've made strong decisions. They're not afraid to make decisions. But in terms of leading and keeping the project about football, about winning the matches, I don't know if they've got that understanding, that experience. So definitely, I think leadership is lacking from not just players, but just from the club alone. And Pochettino will, to some extent, fix that because he's a manager who's very clear in what he wants. But again, we don't know. He did struggle at a club similar to Chelsea just recently with the leadership and power struggle. Maybe that's why they get rid of all those players who might give Poch a bit of a hard time in managing the squad, and he's just getting a lot of youngsters in because that'll suit his managerial style.
Mm, mm. Um, since we brought up United, obviously you said Mount. What does Mount bring to United? And does he fit in with the system that Eric Ten Hag wants to play, or
Yeah,
is he what United need?
I think he gives. It's clear that they like to play with two eights or
Right.
one 10 and the second midfielder being an eight that pushes into the 10. I think we've seen with Ericsson, his legs, past 60 minutes, he does struggle. And you need a bit more than what Ericsson's been able to give. So it also gives you the option to rest Fernandez. I mean, how Bruno Fernandes didn't break down during the season is beyond me because
Mm.
the amount of games he played, he's probably played the most games in since the season started than any other player, I would suspect. So, and he's not really missed any games through injury. So, yeah, I think that's just again covering the bases that you're in the Champions League now, and and you you can't expect Bruno to be available just as much as he has been.
No.
So, bit surprised that he's available and it was happening, but I can see the sense. And no matter what, Matt works his socks off, and that that ticks a box. As far as I'm concerned, that ticks an important box.
Mm.
And you start to see the type of players Ten Hag is going for. They are all players that put a shift enough off the ball. And that's why you're starting to see rumors around Sancho maybe being the willing to sell him, and you can just see he's trying to change the mindset of the players that he
Yeah.
signs.
What do you make of it? They were linked with Kim Jong from Napoli. I think he's going to Bayern now. Do they need another centre back as well?
Yeah, they do. They need someone better than Harry Maguire and Lindelof, and
Lindelof.
even Varane. I mean, Varane, for all his leadership composure, I didn't think he was great at times last season. So they definitely need a player that can put Varane under pressure.
Well,
Uh,
his body's giving up on him as well, isn't it? Because he's constantly just
so
injured in
Kane
and
would
out.
have been the perfect replacement for Harry Kane because the guy is just colossus in the air, proper bully, excellent stepping off the defensive line and cutting in the supply to the striker who drops in. Really aggressive, and him and Sandro Martinez, that would have been two beastly players bullying
Mm.
opposition. That would have been a real fun watch next season. So if Bayern managed to nick the deal, that'd be disappointing for Man United. Then that'd be another one where they probably had it sealed and then taken the eye off the ball and let it go.
Mm.
And yeah, a lot of uncertainty around United simply because of the takeover stuff still ain't resolved. So
No, no, and
it is
still there's not much news on it. There was some brief rumors came out that Sheikh Jassim and the 9-2 Foundation, I think, um, had won the rights for United, but obviously again it's gone quiet again. So it's actually weird considering they're going into a new season and still there's doubts over who the owner is going to be.
it just shows what the Glazers are about. They really never did give a toss about the club or the fans, and they knew there's a deal to be had if if they wanted to get it done before the transfer window, but they don't care. They only care about getting a top dollar as much as they can. So they're not,
Mm.
they're just showing what everyone already
Already
knows, which is
knows. Yeah,
they're
yeah,
incredibly
definitely.
selfish owners who aren't really interested in the best interests of the football club.
Mm. You briefly mentioned Kane, obviously linked with United. Um, do you reckon he's still gonna stay at Tottenham this year? Because all the indication it seems like nobody's willing to pay the amount of money that Daniel Levy is asking for. And does he stay with the new man Ange?
I think and a lot depends on the way and Postecoglou tackles it. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if a late transfer does happen. I think Tottenham are doing what they always do, which is play hardball. But I really don't think they could afford to, give up 80 mil in a season they got no Europe. So I think they're playing brave, they're acting brave, they're acting, but you know, even getting someone like Postecoglou also said a lot
Mm-hmm.
about, whether they're going to keep Harry Kane or not, because I don't think that's the type of manager that's going to convince Harry Kane to stay. And he's done amazing things. He's overachieved everywhere he's been, so he's clearly a good manager. But there's a lot of world class managers, and it's a shame. The Premier League being good isn't enough. You have to be exceptional. You have to be one of the best.
Yeah.
And so let's see if Postecoglou can do that. But one thing he will bring is he's happy to buy players. He knows players, he knows the market. He's one of those managers who's like a director of football as well. He'll fix the club top to bottom, put things in place. His experience is quite wide ranging. So it's a good fit for Tottenham and maybe for to manage this situation with Kane.
But I did like
Not
let's
see him going crazy about keeping Kane if Kane doesn't want to be there.
yeah. No, but this was going to be
I
my question.
convince Levy
If
to
you're
just
Harry Kane,
mm.
do you still stay there where you're one of the
Yeah,
probably the best striker in the world? Yeah, and you're playing in a team, no Champions League, no nothing, not gonna go potentially challenge for title next year. Do you stay there even though you got 1 year left, knowing that full and well you can go to somewhere like Manchester, Bayern, etc., and go win the leagues and titles? Or does he stay because he wants to be he's already I think he's already a Spurs legend for them, but does he stay to break that Alan Shearer record? But I mean he can go to a Premier League club and do that as well, but what what does he do? Because Kai Walker, say for instance, he left at 27 when he left Tottenham. He's won 14 titles or cups altogether.
yeah, I think you know for Kane it's a big difference because for Kyle Walker they're willing to sell him even if someone overpaid.
Mm.
With Kane they're not willing to sell him even when clubs are overpaying. So I don't think Kane has much options here. He has to go with his stuck because ultimately he signed a long contract
He
and
done
now
himself over, I
1 year
reckon.
left.
He
Now he's
done
got
himself
1 year
over.
left. Yeah, I mean, but he trusted. You can tell there was a gentleman's agreement. That's why when he done the interview on the overlap on the golf course with Gary Neville, he kind of alluded to a gentleman's agreement with Levy, and you can see the bitterness there that Levy is a guy who isn't a person of his word, and not surprised the season they've had. At the end of the day, your captain doesn't see eye to eye with the chairman, because of broken promises. One thing I will say is if they keep Kane against his will without him signing a new contract and being convinced of the new project, one thing I will say is Tottenham would have a difficult season, just like they have this season, because there's no way that doesn't affect the club, that doesn't affect players. The players are closer to to each other than they are to a manager or a chairman.
Yeah.
Especially when he's the captain. So, uh, you know, not surprised they didn't make Europe. Uh, and really, if they do keep him, it's happy days for everyone else because I can almost guarantee Tottenham will struggle next season. No matter
But
how
what do
good
you
the manager is, no manager can handle a dressing room where the captain is being kept
Yeah.
at.
What do you make of some of the maybe potential signings they've got? Obviously, they've they've managed to get 5 million off Kuleveski's loan deal and made that permanent. Now I think that's getting permanent. Daniel Levy strikes again. Then you've got, I mean, they're in for Raya and James Madison as well. I think they made an offer for James Madison and Harvey Barnes, 50 million, but it got thrown out. But yeah, what do you make of the transfers they're going for?
I think Madison suits Tottenham very well. He's a softie and and play likes to play good
Softy.
football. Likes to play good football. Kind of fits in with Tottenham. The way they are as a club and fits in with Postecoglou's system. So I think, yeah, I mean, again, those players I'd question if they've got other clubs going for them, even if you have Newcastle going for them. This is the thing. Tottenham don't have a lot to play with anymore because if you're going for players like Harvey Barnes, James Madison, you got to be willing to pay over the odds to get them in clean because you're not in Europe.
No.
You're not a well-run club right now. You got your best player looking to leave. You got a manager you got from the Scottish League, and you got a lot of other clubs that are desirable. Like you can see, teams like um, Newcastle and Aston Villa
Go.
you can see teams like Newcastle and Aston Villa poking their nose and on all of those type of players that Tottenham are going to go for now.
Mm.
So yeah, it's not going to be easy, but they do have a manager who's got an eye for a player who can unearth some good players. Uh, but the Premier League intensity and Scottish and Japanese and Australian league intensity is slightly different.
But
And
that was going to be my point. I do like you can bring those players up, and the quality might you can get away, or they might be good enough for that level. Premier League is a different kettle of fish.
yes, I think maybe if they stick to tried and tested players like Hans and Madsen is probably the right way to go for
Mm.
now. But let's see.
I
They
mean,
definitely got a manager that's going to give the club direction and consistency. I mean, he sticks to the same messages. He's not, he's probably better at. He's the type of guy who can probably, convince Levy to change some of his ways. I think,
yeah, that's one to keep an eye on.
yeah.
What do you think they're gonna get Raya? Because obviously, I think Lloris is leaving. That's the place, and obviously Daniel Levy is trying to do Daniel Levy thing of trying to get him on the cheap.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing what they're doing, which is tap the player up and then get the player to speak out against the price tag that Brentford have put. 40 million does seem excessive, but in a lot of the stats last season, he's got number one in quite a lot of them. I think
He's
top
actually
of
been really
match,
impressive.
save,
Yeah,
passes, quite a lot of the areas where all the top teams look into, he's number one. So he could end up being a snip even at 40 mil if he ends up living up to those stats for Tottenham. So definitely it looks like he's got his heart set on Tottenham. They've tapped him. They've got, I think, contract agreed already. So it's just about the price. I suspect eventually Tottenham will pay 40 mil in some breakdown deal, but it will probably eventually rise to 40 mil.
something like that. Yeah, you can see them doing it where they'll structure the deal and give add-ons like if they get Champions League to get the rest of the money. Yeah. But let's move to one that's a bit international, but kind of ties in with the Premier League as well. Jude Bellingham completed his transfer to Real Madrid, wearing the famous number five of Zinedine Zidane, who was linked with obviously Liverpool, who needed a midfielder. Firstly, what do you make of the move? And then obviously we'll get into Liverpool after that.
Yeah, I mean, for any player, any team getting Bellingham is an amazing signing. I mean, is Real Madrid's style, does that style suit
Bellingham.
Bellingham? I don't think it does. They're quite positioned on midfield. Yeah, they break into the box like Valverde does, but that's all fast breaks. That's all on the counter attack.
Yeah.
Um, Outside of that, it's quite slow build up, transition play. The thing with Bellingham is what is his ceiling? You've seen him kind of be able to do everything in a game.
Yeah.
What is his style, natural style? What's his best fit is box to box. So I feel like Liverpool would have been a better fit for him. Real Madrid will make it work, but they've now got three similar type of midfielders: physical, athletic,
Good on the
powerhouses,
yeah.
all kind of runners on the ball as well. They all like to run with the ball. Other than not sure many, but definitely Camavinga and it's kind
Valverde.
of gone away from what they've had. They've had three passers in there. They've had three players that kind of play the game positionally. That the maestros. They dictate the game. They control the game. They intercept. More than
Rather than
press
tackling. Yeah.
yeah. So the profile has changed, and it's going to be interesting to see how Ancelotti manages that. But for Jude Bellingham, it's a no-brainer. You're going to go to a club, that has the prestige as the biggest club in the world, the greatest club in the world.
But listen, if Real Madrid come calling for you, you don't say no, innit? Unfortunately, whether people like to accept it or not, when Madrid come calling for you, you go, and
Yeah,
that is it.
and the thing is, yeah, the magic of the club, they've only enhanced it with the way they keep dominating the Champions League.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, let's see. I think Benzema is a huge loss.
Oh.
And Modric is, in two minds about whether he wants to stay. If they lose Modric as well, yeah,
I
that
think they said Modric and Cruz is I think pretty much done. I think Modric is also pretty much done as well. But do you think someone like it maybe obviously we talked about Kane, but do you think someone like a Kane would be a perfect fit for Benzema?
I mean, obviously it'd be a perfect fit, yeah, because it's similar style, like for like.
Yeah.
Um, if you see the relationship between Song and Kane, then and Benzema and Vinicius,
Delicious, yeah.
there's a lot of similarities there, and potentially in terms of goal scoring, I think Kane will bring more than Benzema because Benzema was always an artist, a selfless player, and Kane is the same, but
He's got a
you
ruthless side as well.
he's got another side which is he wants to get in the box and he wants to get the goals as well. So he's a bit more ruthless in finishing, and the other thing is a bit more physical. So I think he'd be able to bring different elements. So yeah, if there was a striker that would be the perfect replacement for Benzema, it is Kane. But
Mm.
you know, Kane is the perfect striker for many clubs. So
I mean, imagine he goes there and he makes them start losing, but
only an Arsenal fan would say something like that. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. Don't see it happening. He's the reason why Tottenham have been ahead of Arsenal last few seasons. Not the reason why they're losing. He's kept them in it. So I think yeah, he'll go Real Madrid and
Do you
he'll
know what would be? Do you know what would be sick? Do you know what would be really funny? I'll throw it out there. It's gonna be outrageous and like it's silly, yeah. But imagine he does a Sol Campbell. It's not gonna happen, I know, but I'm just saying. Imagine he does a Sol Campbell. That would be like the biggest slap on Tottenham ever.
let's move on.
But we move on. We move on. Liverpool.
I think you're getting a bit wild in your dreams now.
If he wants to win something, he needs to get to the right side of London. But Liverpool, obviously, McAllister done, I think, what, 35 or the million. They're linked with Koulibaly and Thuram. What do you think they need to do? Obviously,
Okay,
they need to improve that middle,
engine, yeah, they're trying to get players with engine that can press, that can pass forward. You can see that the type of players they're going for are high energy players, high press players. So yeah, that's what they're trying to get in.
Isn't Koulibaly another like a number nine winger/winger?
I don't think Colomani is actually a player they're going for. Really, I think it's Kone they're going for more, and that Thuram, who are high energy midfielders. Um, so yeah, I think that's what they're looking for is a high energy midfielder.
But then
Uh,
then added that begs
Mind,
the
I think
question.
they've got too many already players in their
Then
forward
why
line.
why not get Caicedo? It would be a perfect fit because obviously they've lost Fabinho's legs. I know obviously you might say the money, but he would be that perfect
But
engine that you need who can cover the right side for Trent.
Liverpool know unless there's a low buyout clause, they cannot go up against any player that is part of an auction. They know that, and rather than letting the whole world realize it by going up against anyone in these battles, they're quite smart in totally staying out of the way, and doing their business quite quietly, like they did with McAllister. Because as soon as there's an auction, they're gonna get embarrassed because they can't even come close.
Yeah.
And I think it's clever the way they subtly just take themselves out of the race. Look at Bellingham. They took themselves out of the race because they knew there's no way they could compete with anyone who's going for him.
Yeah.
Even if the player wanted to go, doesn't matter. There's a financial element that the club ain't going to sacrifice. And Dortmund, got a good deal, rising up to 115 mil,
Structured, yeah, structured payment.
really good. So I think, yeah, that's why Liverpool are, not going for Caicedo because there's an auction on him.
But so if it's obviously just at the moment it's just McAllister, is that good enough for Liverpool to obviously be back next year?
Of course not. They do need the legs in midfield outside of McAllister. McAllister would bring a bit more tactics, a bit
I
more
don't think he brings that leg as
technical.
much, to be honest, or that energy. Because he's
But
a bit more like a what's his name? Like a Thiago, but a bit more mobile.
but he's also similar to Thiago in the sense that he is aggressive in the press.
Mm.
He is aggressive in the tackle. He's very intelligent in the tackle. He's very good at coming the other side and nicking the ball off a player. So if you see Brighton games, I mean, he wins the ball back a lot.
Mm.
And also for Argentina in the World Cup, he won the ball back a lot simply because of his intelligence. He's quite sneaky in the way he does it, but he does win it back a lot.
Mm.
You know, I don't know about how great his passing accuracy is. I've seen him quite a lot of times, and I don't think it's as good as it can be. But yeah, he's not. He's maybe not high energy, high pace, but he's definitely got the work ethic,
Mm.
work rate, intensity in the tackles.
Definitely. Is there anyone you would say they definitely need, or they should target maybe?
I think they need a centre back. They need a lead at the centre back. They need someone who can potentially put a bit of pressure on
Van Dijk.
uh, Van Dijk. I mean, they're going for Timber, and I think too many of the signings are based around the players that Van Dijk rates or somebody rates. It's it needs to be players that they can actually challenge. That can actually challenge them. So
Mm.
yeah, let's see. I mean, if they get Timber, everyone's saying he's an amazing signing. Just the height is an issue, but clearly he's an immense talent.
He is. He is. I think Julian Timber is a really good player because he can cover that right centre back spot, even the right back cover for um, Trent because he can do that. He can do that right back role as well. So it would be a really smart signing. So I mean, they could start doing that. That three at the back thing of Man City in terms of pushing maybe Trent a bit more.
Well, they tried. They started it trying their version of it with
Yeah.
Trent coming in, and now with England, he's a bit more advanced role, done really well in that role. So
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the thinking was a bit outrageous. It was Malta, man. Come on, chill out. Like some of the thing is
yeah,
going like Foden and was it Jill Scott saying Foden and Trent? Could you imagine them two in number 10? I'm like, just chill out, man.
yeah, definitely agree with you on that overreaction. And I like the way Southgate killed it by just saying he's learning the position. But
Yeah.
they're going on to the next one, and he's going to really stress Southgate and give him the selection dilemma. And he just said basically there's no selection dilemma because he's still
He's
learning the
learning the road.
position, doesn't even know the position. So without dissing, and I think that's clever because he didn't disrespect Malta either. He gave
No.
an answer which just puts the pressure back on the player to keep improving.
Yeah, it's good management. I would say it's good management. Um, Before we wrap up, let's quickly. I mean, obviously Luton, linked to loads of players. Keep seeing obviously the goalkeeper Ethan. I think Hovert. We're not gonna activate his 1.5 million clause. We've got there's links with Chuba Abcom. Then there's links with the Blackburn goalkeeper Kameski. Then there's links with I think Tahir Chong, who used to be ex-United player. What do you think Luton needs to do, and are they targeting the right caliber and right type of players that's required?
Yeah, I'm not sure about Tahith Chong. I don't. He hasn't. I don't think he was that great for Birmingham when I saw him.
Mm.
I don't think he's Premier League level yet. Robert obviously got pace, he's got energy, but he should, he doesn't know how to protect the ball. Will lose the ball a lot, I think. So I'm hoping that's not true. And the other, like, obviously, it's clear they're going for the free market arena, to back them. They're going for those players, and it's smart. Those are the players Luton should be going for. And the thing is, most players they go for are linked with well be better than what they have. I mean, because they've overachieved so much. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely you would say, even though they were one of the more physical teams, athletic teams in terms of height and strength, they haven't got burning pace. Their strikers are good pace.
Elijah Adebayo is probably fast, but I don't think Clinton Morris is that fast.
I think Clinton Morris is.
As in,
So both of them have
not in the Premier League. I
know
don't
what
think.
we'd call fast here. We'd call a good, better pace, enough of a pace to cause championship defenders problems, but
Yes,
it won't be anything for the
Premier
Premier
League.
League. So I think, yeah, it looks like they're trying to get a bit of pace into the team, which is smart. And let's see, it'll be interesting.
Let me throw something
Main
out
thing
there.
is just they need to get Nakamba. That's the main one.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
No,
Drame, if they don't get Drame, I don't mind, but proving himself to be a good player. So that'd be nice if they can seal that one too.
mm.
Definitely would be good if they get Nakamba.
Let me throw something out there for you. What do you think of this? Obviously, because I know obviously Amad Diallo has ripped out for Sunderland this year. We don't know the situation with United, whether he's going to play or if Ten Hag's going to keep him. What about maybe another loan deal for Diallo? You want speed, you want trickery. Here's a guy who's done really well in the Championship. Give him a go.
Mm, it's okay. I mean, they like all their players to be of a certain height, but so I don't know. Obviously he'd be a good option off the bench. I don't know if he's really gonna get regular game time, and I don't think Man United will give him out to a club that is gonna rotate him. They're gonna put him at a club where he's guaranteed to be playing,
Mm.
because they spent a lot of money on him. They need to retain that value and that interest, even if he doesn't break through at United. At least he's done enough for someone to spend something on him.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, definitely not sure. I don't think, that's gonna work out or that's gonna happen even. But
From
yeah, I see that's the type of player they need to go for that maybe it fits in with their profile.
Yeah, and I was thinking more of like a loan, someone that can fit in and then doesn't cost them but gives them that performance that's required for this year. Is there anyone you have in mind or you think that would be good for Luton?
Again, it's just I think it's that market they're going for, isn't it? The free agent market or the market with players are 1 year left and maybe not getting a look in, but are technically good players, physically good players, good characters. There's plenty of good players out there.
Mm.
There's plenty of players that aren't getting a good look in that need the right club. So yeah, I haven't got anyone on the top of my mind, but like you know, yeah, we don't love players like Conor Gallagher, and it's not going to happen, are they? So, yeah, they're looking at a different market. There's plenty of players that are going to get released,
I ju-
equally not finding a place at a club, and that's it. I think Nakamba is that
yeah,
perfect example.
yeah.
They
No,
need
but
to
do you know what I
go
was
for
gonna
players
say? Do
like that.
you know what I was gonna say? I think we should look at really the
I think
Championship
who they
and
could look for, but I think finance-wise, it's going to be too much. Is Livramento.
yeah, no, I don't. I think that would be too much. They'll ask for silly money.
Because if you
They'll
look,
ask for silly
like,
money.
if you want to upgrade on Drame, Livermento's your guy.
Yeah, nah, they'll ask for silly money.
Coming off an injury,
Silly
missed most
money.
of the season, Southampton relegated.
Yeah, I think Southampton gonna keep him. Listen, the dream is obviously James Justin and Cole to come back, but not gonna
I
happen.
think you know what, I don't know what's happened to you. You become soft this week, man. I think the sun and the hay fever has done something to you. James Justin is what Luton need. We don't need injured
Come on,
players.
man. Big mate James Justin.
We don't need to waste money on players that aren't going to be there this season. As good as they were, they're not. They're not there yet. They know what Luton Town needs. So I hope they stay away from nostalgic signings and definitely they need to just stick to what they're doing, the right market. There's a lot of decent players out there that will put a good shift in, give you a good, and again maybe the players that are slightly out of their range are the loan ones that they can go for.
Yeah, I think they should
Some clubs
definitely
would
use
be
the
happy
loan
to take
market.
50% off the wage. So I think with Luton, a lot of those signs are going to happen late.
No, but I was gonna say,
They're obviously they're kind of waiting on the hand-me-downs. So
yeah, definitely use the loan market to get a couple of experienced Premier League players that might not be, used elsewhere. But also maybe using buying some good Championship players that I have 1 year left, just to build a squad that if they were to go down, that they'll be straight back up for it. Build that strength because of that gap between those teams that are dropping down in around them. So that's what I would suggest.
yeah, definitely. I think that's what in the whole, those are the type of players they're going for anyway.
Yeah. All in all, I do. Thank you for today. For those of you watching, thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.